meant to be black? And if so, how did this shape your destiny? We spent an hour answering that question. I was just talking to our friend in Yoga, so I'm anxious to have these other two brothers join us later in this conversation. So I'll be mindful of that and try to keep my answers as brief as possible. Before I answer that question, though, if you would allow me a point of personal privilege, I'd like to start by just saying, in witness of this audience, how much we deeply respect, love, appreciate, and treasure you. And I say that not for cheap applause, but the older I get, the more I realize that every race of people ought to be judged by the best they've been able to produce. Not by the worst, but by the best. And George Fraser is among the best that we have produced in this nation. I have a very simple definition of leadership, and we've taught this to, as you know, thousands of young people over the years through our foundation. Our foundation is primarily dedicated to the issue, the notion of youth leadership training, youth leadership development. And I've interviewed countless leaders over the course of my broadcast career. I've read countless books, I've been at countless seminars and symposia, listening, presenting, and all of that, travel the world talking to great minds. And my definition, with all the humility I can muster, is the best definition that I've come across as yet when it comes to leadership. And it's simply this: you can't lead people if you don't love people. And you can't save people if you don't serve people. You can't lead if you don't love. You can't save if you don't serve. So the two fundamental questions, if you would call yourself a leader, I told an audience the other day, if you call yourself a leader and you look behind and anybody following you, you just out for a walk. You're not leading nobody. But if you would call yourself a leader, these are the two questions, the two penultimate questions that matter. What is the depth of your love for our people? What is the quality of your service to them? So the leadership is about loving and serving people. Not where you went to school, not how many degrees you have, how much money you make, what neighborhood you live in, what kind of car you drive, what your salary index is, who your mama and your mom, what kind of hookup you have. I'm not impressed. If you call yourself a leader of our people, those are the two questions I want answers to. What is the depth of your love for our people? What is the quality of your service to them? I start with that because by that definition, we've not produced better than George Fraser. Please thank him again. I want to use that opportunity just to say publicly to you once again how much I appreciate and love and value you. To your question, you sort of referenced the answer to that question in your very kind introduction. When I was a student at Indiana University in my sophomore year, a friend of mine named Denver Smith, who played for the football team at Indiana University, was shot and killed by the local police in Bloomington, Indiana, again where I was matriculating at Indiana University. They shot Denver an inordinate number of times in his back, but said that he was acting violently toward them, was lunging at them, etc., etc. But the autopsy report comes back with all these bullets in Denver Smith's back. I wasn't there that day. I don't know, I'll never know all the details of what happened. But you cannot tell me that you shot a man multiple times, a black man, white cops. You shot him in self-defense, and that many bullets end up in his back. And that was the moment. I'd gone to, being raised in Indiana, I'd gone to grade school and middle school and high school. I was class president most of those years, leader of the student council, and most likely to succeed. And every honor you could have in high school, I was glad to have in a high school full of white folk. The only black folk in the high school, in the school system, frankly, were me and my family. I have 9 brothers and sisters, so the Negroes that I saw every day, I was related to. So mostly in a white system, so I've never had any experience with racism per se. And I've been treated nicely for the most part, and respected. When I get to Indiana University in my sophomore year, this incident happens, and it really opened my eyes. very short in trying to manage our time. That was the moment that I realized that my being a black male in this world was not going to be an easy terrain to navigate, but that, George, was the moment.
I believe in particular, that for black people to experience their ultimate success, there needs to be a shared vision among more of our people. I've heard you say this in many different ways on many days. What is your personal vision for our community? What is the one thing that you think that we should focus on as a collective of people, as a culture of people? And what is at stake if black people do not unify? What price will we pay for not unifying?
It's a tough question. I was laughing earlier when George said, I want to start with a deep question. I said, are there any other kinds of George Fraser questions? As if there are shallow George Fraser questions. Malik, I'm just warning you, there are no shallow George Fraser questions. That said, it's difficult to ever pick one particular thing. If I were pressed, and I've been asked questions similar to this before, not that exact question, my answer would be the following. Malik and I were talking moments ago about Brooklyn, New York, where he mostly spends his time and lives and resides. Yesterday on my program, our national radio program, one of my guests was Ben Crump. Had Ben Crump on to lead the show yesterday, and then Benny Thompson, the chair of the Hearing Six Committee, came on and said, great show yesterday. But I had Ben Crump on yesterday to talk about the Henry Lack settlement this week. You probably read about it. After 70 years of this assistance cells, those HeLa cells, being used by research labs and medical entities around the world for years, billions and billions of dollars made off the cells of this black woman, who we refer to as the mother of modern medicine. They finally got the first settlement this week in the Henry Lack case. Now, if you know Ben Crump as I do, then you know he settled with the first company. There are 300 more to go, and he won't stop until he makes every one of them come to the table with some money for this Henry Lack estate for what they have done wrong. So I was talking to Ben about this particular issue yesterday. Somehow in that conversation, we pivoted to other news that Ben Crump's been connected to. There's some new data about who actually killed Malcolm X. And that news came out about 10 days ago. So Ben and I were talking about that yesterday, connecting this back to New York City. So there were a number of things that we were talking about in this conversation. So Ben and I, interestingly, George, got into a bit of this dialogue yesterday about what our people need to do. And I raised Malcolm X because I think Malcolm probably has the best quote I've ever heard when it comes to education, particularly for our people. You see where I'm going with this. Malcolm said that education is our passport to the future. Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. That's Malcolm. Education is the passport to our future. Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And I think if there are any issues that we absolutely cannot ignore, it may not be the thing we all agree on. There are any number of ways to get at it. Something public schools are the answer, something private, something charter. But at the end of the day, I do not know how we ever get back in the game, much less compete and win, if we don't understand and figure out some way to ensure that our people have access, our students, our black babies have access to an equal, high quality education. For me, it all starts there. As you can imagine, I've had a number of conversations over the course of my career about education, about how we fix the system that we are now mired, is a good word, in. And it seems to me that we have to have a serious conversation. I'm going to try to be brief here. We have to have a serious conversation about a constitutional amendment guarantee that. There's so much conversation these days about the conversation, let's be honest. There's a lot of conversation rather about the Constitution. Mostly, as I see it, the trampling of the Constitution. That's another issue for another time, right? So many people trampling our Constitution. But there's great conversation now about when, whether, and how we fix the Supreme Court, expanding it, limiting the terms, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many issues that are being discussed now that are connected to whether or not the time is now, whether or not the timing could not be more propitious for a serious conversation about how we amend our Constitution. There are a number of things on the docket, it seems to me,